Welcome aboard, Captain.
So I woke up to a text that basically said, hey, remember that giant spaceship you bought? You're picking it up today. How did this happen? You see, I bought a 40-year-old SEGA Star Trek Cockpit arcade game for $1,000 in change from my buddies Brian and Adam on Facebook. I jumped in my truck, and once I passed the enormous statue of Sam Houston, who, by the way, looks permanently disappointed in everyone's driving, I was finally able to relax. I thought, okay, you've made it this far without the trailer detaching. You're doing great! The game was supposed to be dropped off in Dallas, where I'd pick it up at a later time with maybe a handshake and a live long and prosper. Instead, that plan got shot down faster than a red shirt on an away mission. But hey, sometimes you don't choose the mission, or the mission chooses you. You can see by my face that I've been happily inducted into Group 7, which is rare considering this is just a vintage arcade pickup. My friend Billy 7, no relation to my new Group 7 status, is seen here heroically wheeling the cabinet onto my trailer. He's running entirely on coffee and 4 hours of sleep. He's like a human forklift with opinions. Now, this arcade isn't what you'd call plug and play. This is what we in the restoration community refer to as a major project, meaning it's got all the parts. None of them are where they belong, and there are definitely some bonus pieces that don't belong to any game Sega ever made. On the way back, we stopped at Buc-ee's, as is legally required in Texas. My joy was overflowing. I bought some jerky labeled Ghost Pepper because I thought that was just clever marketing. It was not. I had a full spiritual experience on the drive back. Finally, we made it home, the game was unloaded, the trailer survived, and I proudly declared victory before heading straight to my throne room. Because after 8 hours of caffeine, sun exposure, and Ghost Pepper jerky, Captain Kirk wasn't the only one who needed a command chair. Let's open some mystery boxes like it's Christmas morning, only in this universe Santa shopped exclusively at a junk electronic parts store. What's in the box? Well, inside we've got not one, but 2 isolation transformers, because nothing says safety first, like doubling down on electricity. Then there's a little switchy thing, and a few random chunks of wood. Do they go here? Do they go there? I don't know. It's like IKEA, except you've lost the instructions. And for some reason you don't care, and you're going to try to wing it. Ah, this piece I recognize. It goes around the monitor. We're winning already. Here's a tiny metal box, and surprise, it's a mini power supply, and right under it is another piece of wood. There are buttons. There's a spinner, maybe 2. Apparently this game really, really wanted to make sure you could spin your ship and possibly yourself right into oblivion. More buttons. Even more buttons. At this point, I'm basically the button king of Houston. Extra coin box. That's new. This gold box contains the sacred game boards, the brains of the operation. And yes, I looked inside just to prove to myself they actually existed. They do. Right? Does it mean it'll play the game? Who knows? We're living on hope in 40-year-old solder joints. Brackets to hold it all together, volume control, another volume control, because apparently one isn't enough to control this chaos. Bolts, more bolts, original power supply. There's a more reliable modern equivalent that we're going to use instead of this. Couple fans. We're not starting any fires today, at least not on purpose. Then there's the wiring harness. And look, another harness. So much harness and a 3rd volume control panel. What? I feel like I'm auditioning for a Sega-themed rodeo. We pop off the glass monitor bezel box thing so we can figure out if the 2 wooden shrouds that came with the game will hold our vector monitor. Oh, and are they the same size? Of course not. Because why would they be? You're not really having fun until you're playing Tetris with unmarked cabinet hardware. We definitely have duplicates of what we've already pulled out of the box, as you can probably tell. Alright, let's do something simple before I short-circuit myself cleaning the glass. A little Windex, a little love, and we're suddenly in that satisfying cleaning montage phase of the video. Luckily, the glass isn't scratched, just dusty from 4 decades of neglect and dreams deferred. Once it's sparkling again, I hold it up like Simba on Pride Rock. It looks good. We'll bolt it down later once my confidence returns. Then I notice a crack at the top corner. Yeah, that's fine. That's called character, right? But once it's all back together, this thing's gonna look amazing. The Star Trek cockpit, reborn and ready for warp speed. So, are you buying any of this? Oh, you are? Oh, good. Okay, let's move on.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
And now we've arrived at my favorite part of every restoration video, the part where I clean the cabinet with industrial strength cleansers, unearned confidence, and enough elbow grease to qualify as cardio. I'll be scrubbing away years of dust, fingerprints, and whatever mysterious goo time itself invented. all while delivering the kind of Star Trek dad jokes that make even Spock raise an eyebrow. It was either that or it was going to blast a knockoff version of the Star Trek theme that sounds just legally distinct enough to not get sued, so really, you're welcome. All right, here we go. I used to confuse Star Wars with Star Trek. It was a Wookiee mistake. Where do you keep your badge at a Star Trek convention? On a lanyard, Nimoy. Have you heard about the new Star Trek Christmas movie? It's the Wreath of Khan. I like Star Trek, but it has its pros and cons! I tried to sneak into a Star Trek convention disguised as a doctor. The security guard suspected I was not the real McCoy. What do all Star Trek captains have in common? They all have 3 ears, a left ear, a right ear, and a final frontier. Where do Star Trek fans work out? At the He's Dead gym. Why does this Star Trek uniform stink? Oh, because William Shatner. Get it? Star Trek fans always expect a gift when going to a convention. They call it the Enterprise. What powers the Enterprise? Spock plugs. What sound does an exploding Vulcan make? T'pow! That's a deep cut. You're gonna probably need Google on that one. What does a Romulan frog use for camouflage? A croaking device. What are Vulcan eyeglasses called? Spoctacles. What did Spock find in Kirk's bathroom? The captain's log. And that concludes our Star Trek dad joke segment. If you didn't understand any of those jokes, that's okay. Just ask your grandparents. They'll either laugh or launch into a 45-minute explanation of what television was like when you had to stand up and walk to the TV to change the channel.
Please, Captain.
Sometimes after you unbolt something, you still need your hammer to remind it who's boss. This is the second vent we're pulling off, and there are a total of 3. We're sending all of them out for powder coating and a foot rub. Let's take a look inside. There's a square wood panel here with a broken corner, and we're going to fix it the old-fashioned way. Glue and hope. A little wood glue, a little confidence, and a silent prayer that it dries straight. Pro tip, don't put this stuff in your hair unless you want to start a conversation with your local ER doctor that begins with, "You see, it was for science." Now sure, there's a brand new replacement part in one of the boxes, but why use that when we can rebuild this one using questionable methods and a fan that's older than the moon landing? We'll clamp it, stick it under the fan, and leave it there for about a week, or until I forget it exists, whichever comes first. Next, we've got a Molex connector hanging under the cabinet like a mystery vine. I tried to remove the pins like a professional, and when that didn't work, I immediately reverted to my natural state, cutting it off and starting over. Then I realized, oh, there's another piece attached. Great. It's a surprise electrical relationship. We strip the wires, pull out the pins with the extractor, and get them back where they belong. And yes, I did just say, put the wires back in the same hole. That's not a joke. It's a warning. The fan spins the wrong way, and suddenly your arcade turns into a Dyson. Now, someone in the past drilled out the lock on the captain's chair, which is the arcade equivalent of saying, I lost the keys, but I have a power tool. We're installing a new keyless lock because who needs keys when you can just believe in yourself? Inside is all the valuable stuff, game boards, wires, secrets of the universe. And I may or may not have flattened something with the hammer again. I love keyless locks. Great for your house, risky for public display, also perfect for storing, let's just say, mystery items. Moving on. Next mission, removing the control panel. It's held in place by screws that are older than some of my coworkers. I try my hex screwdriver. Nothing. I add graphite. Still nothing. I try talking nicely to it. Nothing. So it's time to bring in the vamp pliers. These things grip, twist, and whisper. I've seen some stuff. And just like that, victory. The screws are mangled, but we've got replacements. The overlays are getting swapped anyway, so it's fine. After some questionable tool use and mild swearing, the panel's finally free. Now we're cleaning! Retro Bright is standing by to bleach the yellowed plastic back to, I just left the factory white. And yes, I'm fully aware of how much time I spend cleaning the little imperfections no one will ever notice. But it's fun, it's oddly satisfying, and it keeps me from getting distracted and buying other arcade games, at least for a while. We're finally getting around to removing the third and final boss of this restoration, the last metal vent. I wasn't saving it for last, it just escaped my brain like a sneaky side quest. Once that's free, we break out the simple green and a paper towel, because that's all it takes to clean 40 years of interstellar grime. Who knew Starfleet ran on household cleaners? But we're not done yet. The glass bezel box in front of the monitor has a few more metal pieces that are just begging for powder coating. We carefully unscrew each one while admiring the majestic official SEGA serial number sticker, an ancient artifact that may or may not even belong to this machine. It's like finding a birth certificate for someone else's kid and deciding, yeah, close enough. I take a look at the upper window brackets and immediately decide, better not touch that. All our screws and tiny metal parts go straight into the tumbler. Flip the switch, walk away, it'll be fine, famous last words. Now we remove all the boards from the G08 monitor. For the uninitiated, the G08 monitor is an Electrohome color vector monitor, a type of specialized display primarily used in classic SEGA vector arcade games. It's known for its distinct vector graphics, which use lines instead of pixels, and for being prone to reliability issues like old-school Lindsay Lohan, leading to a reputation for failures like Jared Leto and even fire hazards in some early versions. Seriously, it takes us around half an hour to figure out how to get everything separated without breaking stuff. There's a few videos online showing off this process, but none of them compress the disassembly steps into a rapid 30-second fever dream like we're doing here. We pack the monitor parts up along with our sacred game boards and send them on their way to our friend Matt. Matt is basically a SEGA whisperer. The man can revive a dead monitor using nothing but a soldering iron and positive energy, and within hours of shipping he's already sending progress updates. The man moves faster than my Amazon Prime driver. We decide to keep the original interior wood panel instead of the darker replacement because it's got that vintage charm. It might need some sanding, but hey, it's part of the ship's soul, or at least that's what I'll tell myself while inhaling sawdust. Then there's the power board. It's a Revision B. My arcade friends tell me Revision D is better. Apparently, it has twice the charisma and none of the commitment issues. So I hop onto eBay, find one, and surrender my credit card yet again. And now, we wait. The calm before the storm. So, if you liked this video, feel free to throw a like our way. Don't just click it, hurl it with passion. If you want to join us on this Star Trek restoration voyage, hit subscribe. And if you enjoy jump scares in the form of push notifications, ring that bell. Stay tuned, live long, and powder coat often.